Married at 18, divorced at 21. Second marriage, married at 25, divorced at 28. Third engagement, engaged at 29, ended it at 30, but I kept the ring. I'm still keeping Tom Brady on his toes.
This is what happens when women try to make sports analogies.
What if I told you the very celebrities who preach wokeness are often the biggest culprits of hypocrisy? From grandstanding speeches to tone-deaf social media posts, these moments reveal something shocking about the culture we live in. Stay tuned, because what you're about to see isn't just jaw-dropping, it's a masterclass in contradiction. The stage was set. A young contestant stood before a panel of celebrity judges, bearing his soul about a tragedy that had forever changed his life. The room should have been filled with empathy, a moment of solace and connection. But what happened next was something no one saw coming. Instead of support, the spotlight shifted to someone else, someone you wouldn't expect. And it's here, dear viewers, that our story of self-centered wokeness begins.
What you doing, Katie?
Our country has failed us.
Facts.
This is not okay. You should be singing here because you love music.
It's true.
Not because you had to go through that.
I agree.
You didn't have to lose 8 friends.
The contestant shared his harrowing story, a school shooting that claimed the lives of his friends and teachers. His voice trembled as he recounted the horror. And then cue Katy Perry. Rather than offering comfort, Katy turned the moment into a tearful monologue about how she felt. I'm so scared for our country, she sobbed, while the contestant stood awkwardly, barely acknowledged. Let's break this down. Instead of uplifting the victim, Katy redirected the narrative to herself, a textbook example of performative empathy. In a culture where celebrities pride themselves on raising awareness, moments like these reveal something unsettling. It's often more about them than the cause they claim to champion. Matt Walsh didn't hold back.
Perry has apparently attended the same training seminars alongside Giselle Fetterman to learn how to make other people's traumas about yourself. He is calmly recounting his own horrific experience, and Perry uses it as a platform to put on this over-the-top emotional performance.
If someone is sharing their trauma, the last thing they need is for you to make it about you. This isn't compassion, it's narcissism. Katy Perry's moment of performative empathy wasn't just a cringeworthy misstep, it was emblematic of a deeper problem with celebrity culture. Think about it. In that one fleeting moment, the actual victim was sidelined while Katy took center stage. It's almost as if the tragedy became a prop for her emotions, a backdrop to showcase her compassion. But let's dig deeper. Why do moments like these resonate so poorly with the public? It's because they expose the hollow core of virtue signaling. For someone so vocal about a societal change, Katy's actions inadvertently showed how disconnected celebrities can be from the very people they claim to support. Instead of channeling her platform toward meaningful advocacy, she made it about herself, leaving the audience to question whether the empathy was ever genuine. Next up, we have Mia Khalifa, the former adult film star turned marriage guru. In a TikTok video, Mia proudly detailed her string of failed marriages, divorced 3 times before 30 and still keeping the ring.
Married at 18, divorced at 21. Second marriage, married at 25, divorced at 28. Third engagement, engaged at 29, ended it at 30, but I kept the ring. I'm still keeping Tom Brady on his toes. We should not be afraid to leave these men. We are not stuck with these people. Marriage is not a sanctimonious thing. It is paperwork.
But it didn't stop there. She went on to offer advice declaring we shouldn't be afraid to leave men. Marriage is just paperwork. By Mia's logic, everything, birth certificates, contracts, property deeds, is meaningless because it's just paperwork. But let's be real, marriage isn't just paper. It's commitment, sacrifice, and responsibility, concepts that seem to elude her entirely.
Maya apparently doesn't understand that Tom Brady has 7 Super Bowl rings because he was victorious in 7 Super Bowls. He won a lot, that's why he has the rings. But Maya is a loser, a failure. She keeps failing in marriage.
Matt Walsh's take, if you've failed repeatedly at something, maybe don't position yourself as an expert on it. The pièce de résistance, Mia's sports analogy comparing herself to Tom Brady. Tom Brady has 7 rings because he won 7 Super Bowls. Walsh quipped, you don't get to call yourself Tom Brady of marriage because you failed repeatedly. Mia Khalifa's TikTok rant might seem laughable on the surface, but it raises a much larger issue about accountability, or the lack thereof, in woke feminism. By framing her failed marriages as empowering experiences, Mia inadvertently sends a dangerous message. That commitment and personal responsibility are optional in relationships. Sure, leaving a toxic situation is valid, but treating marriage like a revolving door undermines the very foundation of what it stands for. Her paperwork comment is especially telling, reducing an institution rooted in trust and partnership to something trivial. This mentality, amplified by her online platform, normalizes a cavalier approach to relationships, where failures are not lessons but badges of honor. And perhaps the most ironic part, the same Mia who dismisses marriage as meaningless is offering advice on how to navigate it. It's like taking financial tips from someone who's declared bankruptcy 3 times, absurd and dangerous. Fast forward to Anne Hathaway celebrating the 16th anniversary of The Devil Wears Prada. What should have been a nostalgic moment turned into a political soapbox.
It had just happened, and I think about it all the time. I think we all think about it all the time, and what its implications are, and what it means to live in a country that puts us in this position. Again.
This is a conversation about women's rights, no human rights, Hathaway proclaimed, referencing the recent overturning of Roe v. Wade. But here's the kicker. Anne took it one step further, lamenting how fictional characters in The Devil Wears Prada wouldn't be able to access abortions if the movie were set in today's world. Walsh summed it up perfectly.
Hathaway's takeaway is that women need to be able to kill their children so they can focus more on career advancement. There seems to be a little bit of a disconnect here.
You're grieving over a scenario that doesn't even exist. Meanwhile, real women are out here living complex lives, and you reduce their struggles to a punchline for your woke agenda. Anne Hathaway's pivot from celebrating a movie to lamenting the state of reproductive rights wasn't just awkward, it was calculated. Inserting a political agenda into what should have been a celebration of cinematic legacy is exactly the kind of performative wokeness that leaves audiences rolling their eyes. But let's not miss the forest for the trees. Hathaway's comments highlight a growing trend where entertainment and politics are inseparably fused, often to the detriment of both. The problem isn't that she's advocating for women's rights, many people agree with that sentiment. The issue is the tone deafness of hijacking a fictional movie anniversary to push a real-world agenda. It feels forced, disingenuous, and ultimately counterproductive, reducing complex issues to sound bites for applause. Hathaway's words remind us that while activism is important, the manner and context in which it's delivered matter just as much. And then there's Will Ferrell.
Isn't it just time for women to run the planet? I'm not just trying to placate you, I swear. But I don't know what else to do because we, men, we've been running the show since what, 10,000 BC? Something like that? And we're not doing so good.
At a women's event, Ferrell declared, "Isn't it time for women to run the planet? I mean, we men have been running things since 10,000 BC and we haven't been doing so good." Will Ferrell's speech wasn't just awkward, it was downright revealing. When he claimed that men have been failing at leadership since 10,000 BC, he effectively dismissed centuries of human progress. The irony here is striking. Ferrell, a man who has built his entire career in an industry predominantly shaped by male creators and innovators, was now pandering to the very audience that thrives on dismantling that legacy. His attempt to curry favor wasn't just unnecessary, it was insulting to both men and women. Dismissing men's contributions as a failure isn't empowering women, it's erasing history. If women are to run the planet, as Ferrell suggests, it shouldn't come at the expense of disregarding the countless achievements made by both genders. True progress lies in collaboration, not division, a concept that Ferrell completely missed in his attempt to gain applause. But perhaps the most baffling part is how disconnected his statement is from reality. Today, women already hold leadership roles in industries ranging from politics to technology, yet Ferrell speaks as if women have been entirely sidelined. This false dichotomy of men bad, women good only perpetuates division rather than fostering meaningful dialogue.
From Will Ferrell, who's not exactly known for his wisdom or insight, still, it's worth pointing out that everything he said there, which is the kind of thing you hear all the time these days, is absolute nonsense.
Matt Walsh summed it up best. If you think men are failing at leadership, handing over the reins entirely to women without addressing systemic issues won't magically fix anything. Leadership isn't about gender, it's about competence. Cue applause. But let's unpack this. By dismissing men's contributions to society, Ferrell not only pandered shamelessly, but also ignored centuries of innovation, progress, and sacrifice, most of which came from, you guessed it, men. Walsh couldn't resist. If men have been doing such a terrible job, how do you explain the very advances that allow you to stand on a stage and make that statement? So, what's the common thread here? It's not just hypocrisy, it's the obsession with appearing virtuous at all costs. Whether it's hijacking someone else's tragedy, bragging about failures, or delivering tone-deaf speeches, the woke elite often fall short of their own standards. This isn't about tearing people down, it's about holding them accountable. If you're going to preach values, you better practice them. Because at the end of the day, actions speak louder than hashtags. The problem with performative wokeness goes beyond individual celebrity missteps. It's a reflection of a broader cultural trend. At its core, wokeness started as a push for inclusivity and justice, but somewhere along the way, it became a competition of who could appear the most virtuous. And here's the kicker. It's not about genuine action, it's about optics. Celebrities like Katy Perry, Mia Khalifa, and Anne Hathaway embody this shift, where saying the right thing is prioritized over doing the right thing. But it's not just the hypocrisy that's troubling, it's the impact. When high-profile figures trivialize serious issues through tone-deaf comments or self-serving agendas, it undermines the very causes they claim to support. Instead of inspiring change, it creates cynicism and fatigue, leaving the public skeptical of any movement associated with woke culture. This isn't a problem limited to Hollywood. It's a societal issue where accountability and authenticity are being replaced by performative gestures. The question we need to ask is this: are these celebrities using their platforms for meaningful change or just to stay relevant in a fast-moving cultural landscape? But here's the real question: why do we keep giving these celebrities a platform? Isn't it time we demand authenticity instead of performance? Let us know in the comments which moment shocked you the most, and if you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that subscribe button.